welcome back YouTube. Monday, August the 3rd, it's after work, and I wanted to share another video with you. The whole point to this particular video is to determine whether or not I have met the standards and requirements in my state to actually title this thing as an RV. I think I have. I'm going to run through everything. I'm going to show you what I've done, what I got, and you tell me if I've met the requirements. So with that said, let's not waste any time and let's get after it. So requirement number one is a cooking facility with an onboard fuel source. I pretty much think that this butane stovetop and oven will meet that requirement. The onboard fuel source, I'll show you that in a minute. That's on the outside. I'm focused on the inside, but at a bare minimum, I have a cooking facility, so I think we have met that requirement. Alright, so now we're moving on. So the next requirement tells me that I have to have a potable water supply that includes at least a sink. Got it. Check. A faucet. Got it. Check. A water tank with exterior service supply. So if we look under here, I've got a water tank right there. Now, the exterior service supply, I'll have to show you. Point being is that not only do I have one, I have two. Now, they are tied together, so in reality, they are one tank. But I do have exterior service entrances on both sides of the bus, so I've got double what they're asking for. So, I think I've got that covered. Oh, and by the way, let's take a walk a little bit further to the back of the bus. Not only do I have a sink in the kitchen, but I also have one in my vanity room that also has a faucet. So I've got two sinks, two faucets, two tanks. I think I met that requirement. What do you think? And since we are back here in the bathroom area or vanity area or whatever, one of the other requirements is that I have to have a toilet with an exterior evacuation. So if I pop up this lid, as you can well see, I have a urine diverter. That urine diverter runs through the floor, goes into my gray water tanks, and those gray water tanks have an exterior evacuation source. Now, solids go into a bucket. The bucket gets emptied, but I am exterior I can't even say it. I am evacuating the solids through the exterior of the bus by hand. It doesn't specify how exterior, but it does specify exterior evacuation, so I think I've met that requirement as well. Urine diverter is automatic, runs to tanks. Solid waste disposal is by hand, but at any rate it is exterior evacuation, so I think I've met that requirement as well. So back into the kitchen, it says that I have to have a gas or an electric refrigerator. I got an electric refrigerator sitting right there. It's been running for, I don't know, 3 weeks. Works really great. I think I addressed that in one of my other videos. Matter of fact, I think I addressed it in my last video, but I have an electric refrigerator, so box is checked. I got that requirement met as well. So the next requirement is that I have to have, and I am focusing very specifically on the wording of their requirement, is that I have to have a heating or air conditioning system with an onboard power or fuel source. So let's look at that. I've got zone 1 mini split up here. I've got zone 2 mini split all the way in the back in the bedroom. Can't see it because I got the door open. So it provides heat and air, AC, and it has an onboard power source, which is my 24 volt DC distribution system, which provides split phase power that runs the mini split. So I think I've got that part met. Now let's go to heat. These are heat pumps. They also provide heat. So I've got heat and AC in a single installation for infrastructure that provides both heat and AC. Now, one step further, if I go a little bit deeper into that, I also have, for heat, 2 diesel heaters. One in the back in the bedroom and office that provide heat in the rear of the bus. And I also have one up here in the front of the bus that is located under where my dining table goes that provides heat up here. And they are separate from each other, and they do have an onboard power and fuel source. The onboard power source for my diesel heaters is my 12-volt DC distribution system. The onboard fuel source is my diesel tank from my bus, because I tap the tank and provide the fuel source directly from the diesel tank. Here is where it gets tricky for me. Regardless, I've met their requirement, but here's where it gets tricky for me, because further wording in the requirement from the state says that the power or fuel source must be separate from the vehicle engine. Now, my mini splits, definitely separate from the vehicle engine, from a power source. My diesel heaters, definitely separate from the vehicle engine for a power source. However, the fuel source for my diesel heaters is my diesel tank from my bus, because I tap the tank and I am pulling fuel directly from the diesel tank for the bus. So that's a gray area. I'm not really concerned about it because I've met all the other requirements, but it's a nuance that I'm going to explore and try to test the subject to provide some feedback on, because to me it seems ridiculous that they would fault me for using my diesel tank for my motor as opposed to carrying 2, maybe 3 different fuel tanks that provide fuel for my diesel heaters separate from the engine tank, which to me is a safety issue. And the tanks that come with these diesel heaters, by no means would I trust them on my bus. So I'm really questioning that. I'm really going to press the test on that and see how the interpretation of that works. Now, what I am hoping that means is that the cooling and heating within the RV cannot be a cooling and heating system that runs off of the engine, i.e. the bus heating system that's already installed or the bus AC system that's already installed, which to me makes no sense. I mean, in some ways it does, because if you're using those, you can't run them unless the bus is running. So I get it, but I have a completely autonomous heating and cooling system, both from electrical power and diesel heat, that the bus does not have to be running, and I will be carrying spare fuel tanks to make sure that I don't run out of gas and can't get out of somewhere where I'm at because I ran out of gas. And I have safety mechanisms built into the pickup of the fuel tanks. They will run out of gas before my bus does. End of story. And that in previous videos you will have seen that has already happened, and I know it works. So I'm good to go on that, but I want to test and press the test on that particular issue and find out exactly what that means. Pay attention to the wording, guys, and what your state requires, and make sure that you understand fully what they're actually saying and question it, so that you don't get surprised when you go for that final inspection and say, oh no, you can't, you're not an RV because of X, Y, or Z. So pay really close attention and nitpick the wording that they're using to help you get through that process. So with that, let's go to the final requirement and we'll discuss that, and then we'll move outside and I'll show you the outside components of everything that they're associated with the inside components. Alright guys, this is actually going to address the 6th component that they have a requirement for. And the sixth component is that I have to have a 110 to 125. So basically a single phase 120 volt power source in my RV. Well, I got that. That's what this represents right here. I've got my battery monitors. I've got my energy management system. All of this stuff represents everything on this side of the cabinet. Provides me 120 volts for all of my primary electric loads inside the bus that I use on a daily basis. My Instapot right there, my coffee maker right there, all of the things that are normally powered, all my outlets, my entertainment wall is all powered by that. The only thing that is not powered by that, which is phase 2 of me meeting this requirement, is not only do I have 120 volt AC, on this side I have the same monitoring system, and this monitoring system is showing me what I have for my 220 volt split phase AC system, and this provides power for my mini splits, my microwave, and my office. Nothing else. So I've got 120, 220. I think I'm covered because I have two different independent power systems that are not reliant on the bus in any way, shape, or form. The sun is what keeps them going, and the weather here is not doing me any favors. As you can see, my 24 volt system is down at 40%. I'm going to have to charge it before I go to bed, or it won't make it through the night. The heat is up, humidity is up, everything sucks. But that is what it is. That is life right now in Virginia based on the weather. But so my requirement for the state of Virginia is that I meet any 4 of those 6 requirements based on what we've gone through so far, and I will show you the exterior components that finish the story. I have 6 of 6 as opposed to 4 of 6, so I think I'm in good shape. If you don't think so, you see something that may not measure up and think that I need to revisit it, please let me know in the comments. I would definitely appreciate it. So with that said, let's go look at some of the things on the outside that complete the picture and complete the requirements, so that I can specifically say that I've met 6 of the 6 requirements. All right, before we go outside, there is one thing that I want to show you on the inside of the bus. Let me see if I can get a light on, put a little more light on the subject, and that's really not going to help. But one of the things that I've done is I've added this particular switch right here, and if I hit that switch, and I'm going to leave it on just for reference so that I can show you underneath, and I've got that light right there. I will explain what those mean when we actually get to the underside of the bus, so it will make more sense. But I'm going to turn those on, I'm going to leave those on, because they're key to me explaining the rest of what I've got going on outside. Alright, going back to that first requirement that we had about having a cooking facility with an onboard fuel source. There is my onboard fuel source. I have 2 30-gallon propane tanks that are fed into an automatic transfer switch that will switch over from one tank to the other depending on their status. I also want to point out, I don't know if you can see it in the background. Let me try to get this in a position where you can see it. Yeah, you see the LED back there. I have a propane leak detector in this cabinet. I have one at my hot water heater, which is right there on the inside of the bus, right where the propane connects to the hot water heater. And I also have one at the back of my stove where the propane connects to the back of my stove. So if I get any leaks in propane, I'm going to know about it. And I have tested these alarms on purpose, and they are loud, so I will hear it. But anyway, number 1, onboard cooking facility, check. Onboard fuel source, check. Got that covered, so I think I'm good there. So now let's go to the next requirement that we have that requires me to talk about things that we have outside. All right, the next thing that I want to address goes back to the potable water system and the specific requirement that it has a connection for an exterior service supply. So I want to point out that I have this right here, which is a gravity feed input to my tanks, and I have this, which is actually a pressurized water feed directly into my tanks as well. The other component of my exterior service supply is that I can connect a hose to this, and this provides pressurized water to my water system that does not depend on my tanks. So I've got 1, 2, 3 external service supplies just on this side of the bus. So I think I've met that, but let's go to the other side and let's talk about that side over there. All right, we are now on the door side of the bus. Call it the passenger side if you want, but it's the door side of the bus. And here is my water inlet for the door side of the bus. Just as the other side, I have a gravity feed right there, and I have a direct into the tank feed right there. One of the things that I want to point out is I have the hoses and connections where I can use water feed on one side and fill both tanks, or I can split them off and I can fill both tanks simultaneously, either by gravity or by the direct input into the tanks. So I think I've gone overboard, and I think I have that requirement met, but if you don't think so, you can please tell me in the comments, but I think I got it covered. So that covers the service entrance for the water supply. All right, here we are with the final chapter, closing out the requirements for converting this to an RV. So what you're looking at right now is the downspout from the urine diverter through the floor and into my plumbing system. This is the external evacuation for the toilet, for the urine diverter, and it goes into my gray water tank. I'll also add that if we come up here in front of the mud flap, you can see that that downspout right there is what is providing the water evacuation for my kitchen sink and my bathroom sink. Comes through the pipe and goes into the water tank. Please note, my last video, I had some real serious challenges and issues with the water tank install. I had to completely revise the build of the water tank enclosure. I got that done. I got the tank in, and everything is connected. It's all final. Everything is good. Coming over here to the other side, here's my shower. Shower comes out through the floor, it goes into the water tank, and this tank was the one that I was actually able to install in my last video. So I've got both of my gray water tanks installed, one for the shower, one for the kitchen, bathroom, and urine diverter, and they're right there. They are both 30-gallon tanks, so I have a total of 60 gallons of gray water that I can collect before I have to dump. As an update and catch up for my last video, let me go through a few other things that I want to show you that I've done to complete this installation and be able to call it complete. Alright, so what you're seeing right here, if you start right here, this is an outlet that allows me to drain my gray water tanks on the door side of the bus. I have got a valve right there that allows me to shut the water off so it doesn't go any further than that. This is the output of the tank into the connecting pipes. Go over there, you got the exact same thing, feeds out of the pipe and into the main drain pipe. I've got a valve over there as well, and then it goes out and I can drain it from the other side as well. One of the other things that I did, which was a little bit of insurance for me, is that I added this 1-inch pipe and drilled holes in it, and I have a valve, and I'll go to the other side and show you how that works, but I have a valve over there. One of the things that I was concerned about is this is my balance tube for the tanks, so I need to make sure that I keep them balanced. And if for whatever reason I needed to shut off the outputs out of the tanks and was no longer able to rely on my balance tubes because of cold weather or whatever, I had the means to drain any water that might be in that pipe right there, so that I did not have to worry about everything freezing up and I would still be able to drain my tanks. So this is an emergency apparatus that allows me to drain my tanks, and the only thing that I would be draining would be water inside the pipe from both tanks to empty those out so they didn't freeze. One of the things that I did think about that I could use it for if I was ever in a position or a location where I could do open dump of gray water and not have to worry about rules, regulations, or whatever, I could open that valve and slowly drain my gray water tanks going down the road. But I wouldn't do that normally, but if I could and I was in a bad situation, I probably would definitely use it. But it is an emergency for lack of a better word, it's an emergency escape hatch. So that's what I got going on there. So I've got everything connected down here. I've got all the plumbing in place. I've got everything tied together. One of the other things that I want to point out to close out the completion of my gray water tank install is, as you can see, I have heaters on my pipes to help and assist in keeping them from freezing. You saw the install of the heater pads for my gray water tank when I did that one. I've got the same thing over here on this one. And if we come back here, you can see that I've got heating pads on this side, and I'm not, well, actually you can see it, I've got one on the other side as well. So I've got my shower, primary drain for my sinks, and I don't have anything past the urine diverter, but the angle is such that there should not be any water buildup that I need to worry about it. But I've got everything heated, everything controlled. And with that said, there is a final thing that I want to address. If you remember, before we walked out, I turned a switch on that had a red LED on it. And now I want to show you what that is doing and why I put it there. So if we look up here, you can see that I've got this amber light right here that is glowing. And if you can see back here, I've got two LED light strips that are glowing as well. So the amber light represents the fact that I have flipped the switch in the front of the bus on, and that I have power. If you can see it, because it's getting dark, but I have power to the two relays that I've installed under here, and I can't, they're actually right there. I have two relays installed. One is for my pipe pads, one is for my tank pads. So this light means that I have power to the relays, nothing more. These two amber strip lights that are here represent that I have power coming out of the relays and nothing more. And that does not give me any indication whatsoever that the heating pads are working. All it tells me is that I know they have power. And this tells me that my relays have power and they're energized. And well, this tells me that I have my relays with power. This tells me they're energized and that I have power going into my heating pads. The light up front in the dash that I showed you is meant to tell me that the switch is on. So if I'm driving down the road and I see that red light and I don't want this on, it's like, turn it off, dumbass. But the other side of it is, if it's not on and I need it on, I turn it on, and then I have a easy visual validation method to know that I at least have power coming to my relays and out of my relays to my heating pads, and from that point I assume they're working. I have no way of validating that unless my tanks freeze, at which point I realize that they may not be working. But that's what I've done, just simple visual indicators to help me understand and make sure that everything is working the way that it should be and that I have what I need. That said, all of my plumbing installation is done. The only thing that I have left to do is to actually connect this fitting to that pipe right there so that it ties both tanks together for the air vent, and that's it. And I meant to have that done, and I just realized that I forgot it, so that's why it's not done on this video, but I will get it done. But that's it. That's everything. I hope that I have met all the requirements for being able to convert this to an RV. My next step is to work on that cab so I can actually get this thing on the road and go get it registered. So we'll see what happens. Thank you. Have a great day. Please like, please subscribe, please follow me. and let's see what we can do to get this thing on the road.